Eddie will return. Fans are digging into the idea that Eddie might come back as a version of Cass, Vecna's former undead lieutenant from Dungeons and Dragons. Since Eddie was killed by Demobats, it's already weirdly poetic considering Cass's lore ties him to vampiric resurrection. Add in Eddie's tattoos, bats, and puppet strings, and it starts to feel like they weren't just for style. The teaser for season 5 throws fuel on the theory with Dustin visiting Eddie's grave, which has "Burn in Hell" scrawled on it like Hawkins still blames him, but maybe it's more than a final goodbye. The title of the first episode, The Crawl, echoes lyrics from Master of Puppets, the very song Eddie shredded in the Upside Down, and fans think it hints at his return as Vecna's puppet. Actor Joseph Quinn hasn't exactly shut the door either, dropping hints in interviews that something might be brewing. And let's not forget how the show loves throwing dead characters back into the mix through visions and flashbacks. It's not just about a comeback, it's about Eddie being pulled into the story again, twisted, reanimated, and possibly carrying a sword this time around instead of a guitar. Will's painting foreshadows a new villain. That colorful fantasy sketch Will revealed in season 4 might be more than just teenage Dungeons and Dragons fan art. It shows Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will locked in battle with a massive red three-headed dragon, and fans are zeroing in on that detail like it's the final boss tease. The dragon doesn't match anything we've seen from Vecna or the Mind Flayer, which is exactly why people think it's a clue. In Dungeons and Dragons lore, there's a beast named Boris, stronger than Vecna, and some believe this monster's been hiding in plain sight on Will's canvas. The theory argues that the painting drops breadcrumbs for a much bigger evil waiting to reveal itself in season 5. The fact that Will left 11 and Max out of the image just adds more weirdness, like this battle isn't meant for them. Some think the painting even links back to Will's own future, hinting that he might become part of the threat. But either way, the thing looming in that picture looks like something more terrifying than what Vecna's been cooking. If the dragon's real, it could flip the power hierarchy completely and make a Vecna look like a warm-up act. Time travel will be used. The final season starts in 1987, a full year after the last one ended, and that jump alone has fans buzzing. But it's the signs pointing backward that really light the fuse. In season 4, there's a moment during Nancy's vision where the grandfather clock reverses. The hands move backwards, and it's not subtle. Combine that with young Henry Creel rewinding the same clock with his powers, and it's hard to ignore the setup. Even Steve's weird comment about crawling in reverse lines up with the new season's first episode title, The Crawl, making it all feel like one big-time loop tease. Fans believe this means they're heading back way back to the very beginning. November 1983, when Will vanished, is the date most people point to. Theory goes that the crew might revisit it to fix the damage before it ever started. Vecna's powers, Eleven's evolution, and the Creel house's connection to time all make this feel less like a stretch and more like a trapdoor they're about to fall through. If true, the past is the battleground. By the way, if you guys like movie and TV content like this, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Karen Wheeler is a Creel. Fans have been side-eyeing that season 4 character poster showing Karen standing in front of the Creel house like it's her Airbnb, even though she's never been linked to the Creel family in the story. That backdrop choice kicked off the theory that Karen might secretly be Alice Creel, Henry's long-lost sister. The timelines weirdly line up too. Alice was supposedly born in the mid-40s and Karen's fan-estimated age lands right in the same decade. Plus her last name before marriage, Karen Childress. Some think the child bit is a wink at a hidden identity or some lost history, like she was taken in under a different name. Supporters also point to how Karen's always just a little more involved than the other parents. She's at Joyce's place when Will disappears. She gets those oddly focused reaction shots at town meetings, and she's given more screen time than most of the background adults. There's even a theory that if she's Alice, she escaped the Creel tragedy and buried her past, raising her family in Hawkins under the radar. It's not confirmed, but if Karen is a Creel, then the town's web of secrets might stretch a lot deeper than anybody realized. Vecna will use Max as a vessel. When season 4 ends, Max is in a coma with her heart restarted by 11, but her mind completely gone, like a lights on, but nobody's home. 11 tries to reach her and finds nothing, which fans took as more than just a tragic moment. If Max's consciousness is missing, her body's basically an open door, and Vecna's already proven he knows how to walk through those. He's hijacked minds before, and this time, he might not need to dig. Max is wide open. The fact that he always called her Maxine has people thinking he already had a deeper psychic link with her, and the door's been cracked ever since that first vision. Fans have pointed out how Billy was used like a marionette by the Mind Flayer, and Max could be next, only worse. She could be the perfect disguise. With her body intact and her mind possibly trapped inside Vecna's twisted hive, there's nothing stopping him from moving in. Some theories even say her soul's in Vecna's grip now, waiting to be rescued. If he's walking around using Max's face, things are gonna get ugly fast and personal. Callie will return. She's one of the few surviving Hawkins Lab kids with powers, and her psychic illusions powers, making people see things that aren't there, have never been matched on the show. When she made Axel hallucinate spiders crawling all over him in season 2, it was a big reveal, but fans think that moment was just the start. Her powers align eerily well with Vecna's own tricks, especially since he uses hallucinations and imagery to torment his victims. That kind of overlap has people thinking she's the perfect counterforce to his mental domination. With season 5 leaning hard into the mythology of the numbered kids, especially with one becoming Vecna, it makes narrative sense to bring 8 back to reinforce that storyline. She's already been framed as 11's sister, and the show hasn't closed that loop yet. Social media detectives even caught that Noah Schnapp recently followed Linnea Bertelsen, who plays Callie, which some fans took as a quiet teaser. Add in the fact that the writers have never written her off entirely, and it starts to look deliberate. If she shows up in Hawkins, it could be as an illusionist disruptor, a wild card with just enough psychic firepower to shake up the final battle. Steve and Nancy will end up together. Steve's been carrying a torch longer than half the cast has been alive in universe, and season 4 made that crystal clear. He delivers that monologue about the RV and his dream future with 6 little nuggets, and he makes sure Nancy knows she's right there in the passenger seat. It's not subtle. Fans took that whole moment as a confession he never really let her go. Their chemistry hasn't fizzled either. Every glance, every awkward smile, every time Steve gets flustered around her, it all screams unfinished business. While Nancy's still with Jonathan, the show's done nothing to firmly close the door on Steve and Nancy. Their scenes together always carry that weird energy of people who have history and might not be done with it. And let's not forget, Steve has grown up more than any other character. He's no longer the guy she broke up with, and the narrative's been quietly setting that up. The creators have avoided resolving the triangle on purpose, and with season 5 wrapping everything up, there's serious belief that Steve's steady devotion and their shared past are finally going to bring them back together by the end. 11 will die. Fans have been bracing for it ever since the show started hinting that her powers come with a cost. Every time she pushes herself too far, there's physical fallout, nosebleeds, collapse, psychic exhaustion, and that pattern hasn't let up. People have latched on to the idea that this is a warning. Some fans even ranks her death as one of the most likely endings, not just for shock value, but because it gives her arc real weight. Some theories end with her staying behind in the Upside Down to seal it off, basically becoming the wall between worlds. That kind of finale matches the way the show's been building her up as the one person capable of ending the whole nightmare. Fandom threads are full of theories where her death is the only way to win. The buzz around her future has been louder than any other character, and it's not because she's safe. If the series is aiming for a gut punch, 11 sacrificing herself to stop Vecna for good feels like the clearest shot they've got. Steve will sacrifice himself. Fans have been clocking his pattern for seasons now, charging into danger first, shielding the kids, and never thinking twice about it. From the tunnels in season 2 to the lake dive in season 4, Steve's the go-to human shield, and that's exactly why people think he's being set up for a final act of sacrifice. There's that RV speech too, talking about his dream future with 6 kids in a Winnebago, which fans believe is the ultimate red flag. In stories like this, imagining your happy ending often means you're not making it to the credits. Back in season 1, Steve wasn't even supposed to survive, and that old near-death setup now feels like a long fuse finally reaching the end. Articles keep pushing the idea that the only complete end to his redemption arc is him laying it all down, likely for someone he loves. Dustin's name comes up a lot in fan threads, since their bonds basically become a big brother storyline. Others say he might take the hit for Nancy if Vecna gets to her. Even trailer shots of Steve moving alone through wreckage have sparked alarms. Everything's pointing toward one brutal possibility. Steve Harrington doesn't walk away from the final fight. Vecna will win. By the end of season 4, the ground literally splits open and the Upside Down starts swallowing Hawkins. So even with 11's last-minute push, fans argue it's too late. Vecna already said the 4 gates would trigger a full invasion, and Max's death opens that final door. The whole town ends up coated in ash and creeping vines, which isn't exactly a sign of victory for the heroes. Then there's the reveal that Vecna's been pulling strings since season 1, meaning the Mind Flayer, the Demogorgons, all of it was part of his master plan. That kind of long game doesn't usually get unraveled in just one more season. Fans also noticed that the characters admit Vecna's still alive. They say they need to find him, which means he's out there regrouping, not gone. The show's already positioned him as the ultimate threat, and with the Upside Down bleeding into Hawkins, the damage is real. The gate is open, the town's breaking down, and Vecna's influence is everywhere. All that fuels the idea that this is about trying to survive long enough to slow him down. At this point, it's not whether he wins, it's how much he's already won. Will gain powers. Fans have been circling this idea since season 1, when Will vanished and still managed to communicate through lights, flickers, and echoes nobody else could detect. That sensitivity to the Upside Down felt innate. Even after his return, he could sense Vecna's presence before anyone else, like a living antenna for the supernatural. During 11's psychic searches, Will doesn't fade out like other people. She sees and hears him clearly, which supporters think signals something different about his energy. There's also the idea that his time as a host for the Mind Flayer left something behind. He wasn't fully flayed, and fans argue that might mean he absorbed or retained a kind of dormant power. Tumblr theory blogs have outlined potential Dungeons & Dragons style abilities like shadow walking, scrying, or even mild teleportation, all rooted in Will's connection to two realities. Plus, the show's already set the precedent that powers emerge under extreme stress, and Will's been through more than enough. Supporters see Season 5 as the moment Will stops being the hunted and starts wielding something back. If Eleven's powers began with trauma, then Will might be next in line for an awakening he never saw coming. Jonathan and Nancy will end up together. Their relationship's been baked into the show since Season 2, when they teamed up, confessed their feelings, and became a couple, officially listed in canon as romantic partners. Even though Season 4 puts them at a distance, that gap becomes the focal point, not the end. Nancy expects Jonathan to follow her to college, but he hides that he never applied, afraid of disappointing her. That tension plays out as emotional misfires and missed phone calls, but the show never fully breaks them apart. In fact, early Season 5 promotional images show them together again, sitting side by side in Steve's car, which fans read as a quiet nod that their bond survives the distance. While Steve's chemistry with Nancy is dialed up in Season 4, the contrast with Jonathan is deliberate, showing that their relationship is built less on heat and more on history, trust, and shared trauma. Supporters argue that Jancy has been defined by quiet loyalty, and their current drift sets up a meaningful reconciliation arc. The narrative has already shown they don't need to be flashy to be strong, and if anything, the build-up in Season 4 just clears the path for them to reconnect and commit in Season 5. Mike and Eleven will break up. Season 4 plants the tension early. Eleven starts pulling away emotionally, hiding things from Mike while struggling with trauma, and Will flat out calls it lying. That moment hits hard, especially when trust is the core of their relationship. Then there's the painting. Mike thinks Eleven asked Will to paint it for him, but she didn't. That unspoken lie sits there like a landmine, and fans think it's waiting to explode. The final scenes add more fuel. Eleven walks alone while other couples stay close, and she finds wilted flowers in the ash, the same kind Mike once gave her. That's not subtle. It's a symbolic funeral for their romance. Mike's arc also hints at emotional drift. He's supportive, but often unsure, and some moments suggest he doesn't fully understand what Eleven's becoming. Forums have picked up on how the show's not shy about breaking them up. They already did once in Season 3, and there's a sense that the bond they had as kids might not survive what they're becoming as people. The theory goes that this time it sticks. Between the trust issues, growing emotional gaps, and a whole lot of visual and verbal foreshadowing, fans believe this breakup is inevitable. Will and Mike will end up together. The groundwork's already there. Noah Schnapp confirmed Will's love for Mike as canon, and Season 4 is basically a slow-motion heartbreak. That van scene where Will tells Mike he's the heart of the group while clearly crying over something else. Fans caught that instantly. It wasn't subtle, and it's loaded with emotional weight. Will's painting leaves out Eleven and focuses entirely on Mike and their shared past, which supporters see as his quiet way of saying what he can't say out loud. His line about being scared to say how you feel because the other person might not understand hits like a brick, and it's been read as a veiled confession. Meanwhile, Mike stays totally unaware, which only fuels the slow burn tension. Interviews with Finn Wolfhard hint that Mike might finally confront or understand Will's feelings in Season 5, and the creators haven't shut the door on it either. The shows frame their relationship with the layered moments, ambiguity, and that lingering closeness. Fans think it's building toward a pivotal moment, maybe under pressure, maybe at the worst possible time, when Will lays it all out and Mike sees what's been in front of him the whole time. The entire show will be revealed as a Dungeons & Dragons game. Fans who back this theory say it's all been hiding in plain sight since day one. The kids start their very first scene in a basement deep into a D&D campaign where Mike runs the game and summons the Demogorgon hours before that exact creature appears in real life. They name every threat: Demogorgon, Mind Flayer, Vecna, using D&D monsters, framing each horror like it's just part of another campaign. The Upside Down itself gets described by Dustin as a dark reflection, basically a textbook shadow plane straight out of D&D rulebooks. Season 4 kicks off with the Hellfire Club battling Vecna in-game, and the dice rolls in that scene have been read as direct foreshadowing, like Dustin's fumbled roll predicting disaster. Fans have even joked that the whole show is just an extended session imagined by the boys as adults, and the supernatural chaos is just their roleplay made real. Even though the Duffer Brothers have shot that down, saying the ending won't reveal the whole thing was just a game, supporters still point to how tightly the show mirrors campaign structure, arcs, leveling up, boss battles, party dynamics. The theory says everything's been fiction inside the fiction. If you enjoyed this, I post movie and TV content a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.